have to be as little children. Now, first of all, let's kind of break that down. Kingdom of heaven. I looked up, and it was funny because as I was working on this message, I did Google meaning. You know, I like to look at what some people say is Bible meanings, and you know, a lot of the traditionals say about, you know, thinking kingdom of heaven is to come. You know, when we die, you know, we have to be helpless on this plane so that we can go into the kingdom of heaven. However, we have a different idea of the kingdom of heaven, which is kingdom of heaven is right here. It's a state of mind. We can live in heaven or hell right here. We make our own heaven or hell, basically. So, to live in the kingdom of heaven, right here on earth, we have to be as little children. I really thought about that. And a lot of things that happened this week or the last couple of weeks has really brought me back to what does that really mean to be as little children? And how are little children? And you know, we can think, you know, really quickly or whatever, but really think deep into this. So, being as little children, what does that mean? How do we actually have to be to enter the kingdom of heaven?
Happy.
Happy? Okay, they're always happy, right? They're always happy. They're laughing, they're joyous. And, you know, when I do my humor presentations, I say, children laugh spontaneously about 400 times a day. 400 times a day. Adults, about 6 or 7 on a good day. Sometimes they don't laugh at all. So they're happy and laughing. Exactly. So, you know, we say, well, there's reasons why we're not happy and laughing. So we think about that and we say, yes, they're happy and laughing. But there's reasons if you go further than that. Why are they happy and laughing?
No responsibilities.
No responsibility, okay.
They're free, they feel free.
They feel free.
They don't have to worry about, you know, pay the bills, about to wake up early in the morning and to go to work or deal with some problem there you don't want to deal with. They're just there at the moment.
Okay, so they feel free,
Yes.
which Daily Word tells us that we can do that too. So if we would feel free, we'd be a lot happier, right?
But how can you be free?
Do things really keep us in captivity or whatever, or do we put ourselves there? Okay? Do we have that ability to be free and to let those things go? Now, okay, we have responsibilities, and children don't have responsibilities. So, why does having responsibilities make us unhappy?
It does not make us happy because we have to have responsibility to deal with right now, right here, and this moment. Yes, otherwise everything is a chaos if you don't have responsibility. You must have responsibility with yourself and with others. But, you know, sometimes we just put so much on in our plate all day long that then we do not know which way to go first or what to do, what to think, because sometimes you do something and then, oh, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do something else, you know? Or
And you know what? You said the perfect thing is we put so much on our plate. We do this, we do that. And you know what? That says it in one statement.
We have fear that we can't handle it.
We have fear that we can't handle it. When we say the word responsibility, even the word responsibility kind of almost gives you a little anxiety, doesn't it? Commitment, responsibility. You know, for some reason there's a connotation with that word that is not good. You know, it brings up fear or whatever, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. Think about the connotation. And how do we get that way? How do we get that way?
Building tax.
By us learning, when we were little children, we learned our way out of being little children, right? And it's not a matter of, you know, okay, let's look at our parents, because it's, you know, we're the parents now, and we're doing, you know, so it's a matter of just culture and society. I love this little explanation. It says, I took a piece of plastic clay. And idly fashioned it one day, and as my fingers pressed it, still, it moved and yielded at my will. I came again when days were past, the bit of clay was hard at last. The form I gave it, still it bore, and I couldn't change that form no more. I took a piece of living clay and gently fashioned it day by day, and molded it with my power and art, a young child's soft and yielding heart. I came again when years were gone. It was a man I looked upon. He still that early impress bore, and I could fashion it nevermore. You know, we were that hunks of clay with the innocence and the heart of a child. That child that lived in the kingdom of heaven. I mean, we all lived there. We were all there, and we all know what it feels like. And when we look at children, we see what it feels like. We see what they're doing. But, you know, just as we have been formed in that clay and gotten hard, you know, so we unwittingly do that to our children too. And it's interesting, and I love when I prepare for classes, I learn so much, which, you know, that's what I love about it. And as I'm preparing for this class on happiness, I think about how, you know, really, when we make decisions about the future, what is it usually based on? The past. The past. We use the past to do what? Forecast the future, right? So we make any decision on what they call effective forecasting, okay? We make decisions by forecasting what's this going to cost us? Is it going to bring us joy, or is it going to cost us? What's the lesser of the two evils, or, you know, one of those things. But we always make a decision by forecasting something from the past. Now, what's really interesting is they've done a lot of research on how people forecast to make their decisions. And guess what they found? We are not good forecasters at all. That's why so many things go wrong, because we think that we're making a decision on, you know, we're forecasting, and we're really good. We're really good, and we make the best decision about what's going to bring us happiness or whatever. And they found that we're totally wrong, and I'm not going to go into now why, because you'll learn that if you come to the class and if you come to the workshop. But we're bad forecasters. So then I think about, wow, do you know what? We not only forecast for ourselves, but who do we forecast for?
Kids.
Our children and other people. And if we can't even effectively forecast for us, what makes us think that we can effectively forecast for them? What's going to bring them happiness? What's going to be the best thing for them in their life? And that was really a huge awakening for me. It was like, wow, I can't even do it for myself. How can I do it for my kids? You know, and we do it, and it's not that we do that wrongly, because we do it out of love. We do it out of love, and we truly think that what we teach them or whatever is for their own good. They have to know that, and they have to learn that stuff. But really, you know, it ends up that it isn't. They know. You know, we don't give them the benefit. So when you think about the heart of a child, what is in the heart of a child that gets them to the kingdom of heaven? Before we start molding them, what's in there?
Innocence and trust.
Innocence and trust. Innocence and trust. Think about that. That's huge. They're dependent but independent. Okay? They trust that their needs, think about that, that's huge, just that. They trust that their needs will be met. So, what happens with responsibility and everything else when we grow up? We lose that trust because it's all on us. We have that responsibility to do what, or what, you know, that kind of thing, and we lose that trust.
We get the wrong idea that it's all on us, but it's not from us, it's from God.
Exactly. You know, just that's number one huge thing about going back to being a child, is that trust of a child. That trust that's there. What else? How about love? How about unconditional love? Until we start teaching children who's lovable, who isn't lovable, what's lovable, what isn't lovable. You know, they have that innate, that being. And really, you know, being as a child is really going back to our core being. It's that essence that we all have. We all have that. And it's going back to that essence, that core being. And love, unconditional love. The unconditional love of a child. It's huge. I have so many stories here. I have to look because I know. I want to read this. It's called Bad by Name, Bad by Nature, and it actually came from Nelson Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom book. During Nelson Mandela's 19 years imprisoned on Robben Island, one particular commanding officer was the most brutal of them all. Didn't seem like he had any love in his heart at all. A few days before Brottenhurst's departure, I was called to the main office. General Stein was visiting the island and wanted to know if we had any complaints. Brottenhurst was there as I went through a list of demands. When I had finished, Brottenhurst spoke to me directly. He told me he would be leaving the island and added, "I just want to wish you people all good luck." I do not know if I looked dumbfounded, but I was amazed. He spoke these words like a human being and showed a side of him that we had never seen before. I thanked him for his good wishes and wished him luck in his endeavors. I thought about this moment for a long time afterwards. Brottenhurst had perhaps been the most callous and barbaric commanding officer we had on Robben Island. But that day in the office, he had revealed that there was another side to his nature, the side that had been obscured but still existed. It was a useful reminder that all men, even the most seemingly cold-hearted, cold-blooded, have a core of decency, and that if their hearts are touched, they're capable of changing. Ultimately, Brottenhurst was not evil. His inhumanity had been foisted upon him by an inhuman system. He behaved like a brute because he was rewarded for brutish behavior. Very interesting when we talk about unconditional love of a child and how, you know, different things that they pick up as they grow up will change that, you know, and cause that callous, you know, or different behavior. But it's all there. It's all there, each and every one person, and each and every one of us. So it's trust, unconditional love. What else? I think when Natalie said happy, she probably meant a lot of this is play, right? Right? I mean, when we watch kids play, who taught them to play? Nobody. They know how to play. They know how to play. They know how to imagine. They know how to have fun. And I thought about, on the way in here today, I thought about the toys that we create for kids. And we think they're so cool, right? We got the vacuum cleaner that actually, you know, lights up and goes rrrm. They don't have to pretend at all. And think about what we're doing. We're taking away their imagination. We're taking away their sense. Have you ever, those of you that had kids, did you ever have Christmas and they were more interested in the boxes than the things that were in the boxes? You know, it's almost like cats. They are too. But you know, I think that's amazing, and really tells a huge thing. Is they want to be able to pretend. They want to imagine. They don't want to have toys that are, you know, they have to do the exact thing because it's fun pretending. It's fun imagining. There's monkeys in a kind of monkey in Africa that when they play, the kids, they play with all the other little monkeys, and they run really fast against a certain sapling, and it boomerangs them, it like catapults them, you know, in some other unknown direction. And they have fun with this, and that's how they play. You know, they play chase, and once they do that, they catapult, and they can't get caught. And, you know, now the adult monkeys don't do it anymore. Only one certain time do they do it. And that's if they're being chased by a predator. Then they will do it. But otherwise, they don't play. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? Their play you know, in future years is actually their survival. But isn't the play our survival if we would learn to do it today? We were at the beach, and my kids are all grown. You know, my son is 24, I had to think. And anyway, him and my future son-in-law had fun by getting buried in the sand with just their head, that kind of thing. My son and his fiance, they went down to the beach and built a castle and then stayed there. They misforecasted the tide, so they had to stay there till like almost 7, 8 o'clock at night until the tide came back in to wash their castle away. But you know, that was the fun of it. They got back to play. How many people can go on vacation and play, but wouldn't think about playing around here? We look forward to 1 week a year so that we can let go and play. But yet, you know, we don't take that time to actually play here. You know, when was the last time you actually just played? Just had fun without thinking about what anybody thought or anything like that. You know, think about that. We do a lot, we get a lot out of play. So, what else? And this is another story I want to share about talking about learning from adults. I stopped to watch my little girl who was busy playing in her room. In one hand was a plastic phone, and the other a toy broom. I listened as she was speaking to her make-believe friend, and I'll never forget the words she said, even though they were pretend. She said, "Susie's in the corner because she's not been very good. She didn't listen to a word I said or do the things that she should." In the corner, I saw her baby doll all dressed in pink and lace. It was obvious she had been put there to sit alone and think. My daughter continued her, quote, conversation as I sat down on the floor to listen. She said, "I'm all fed up. I just don't know what to do with her anymore. She whines even though I have to work and just wants to play games too. She never lets me do anything that I just have to do. She tries to help me with the dishes, but her arms just can't reach, and she doesn't know how to fold towels. I don't have the time to teach. I have a lot of work to do and a big house to keep clean. I don't have any time to sit and play. Don't you know what I mean?" And that day, I thought a lot about making some changes in my life. I mean, think about that, sitting and hearing your daughter say exactly what you said to somebody else on the phone. As I listened to her innocent words, that cut me like a knife. I hadn't been paying enough attention to what I held most dear. I've been caught up in responsibilities that increased throughout the year. But now my attitude has changed because in my heart I realize I've seen the world in a different light through the little eyes of a darling little girl. So let the cobwebs have the corners and the dust bunnies rule the floor. I'm not going to worry about keeping up with them anymore. I'm going to fill the house with memories of a child and her mother. For we are granted only one childhood, and we never get another. I love that. Really makes us think about our responsibilities and what's important in life. Are those responsibilities keeping us out of the kingdom of heaven? Probably most likely they are. Number one, because of how we look at those responsibilities, and we look at them with fear, and we look at them with dread, and we look at them, really in a negative way. But also, we're putting so much focus on those things. And it's interesting because in the class, we're going to learn also about things and, how we think those things make us happy. And we talked about that a couple of weeks ago and how they really don't. And, the happiness only lasts for a little bit and, all of these things. But when we talk about happiness and joy and all those great feelings, it's living in the kingdom of heaven. It's living in the kingdom of heaven. Curiosity. Think about the curiosity and the exploration of a child. Fearless curiosity. Wanting to explore, wanting to learn, wanting to do more. We lose that. Think of all the things that a child has. I really encourage you to watch little children play. And get into that mindset and see how quickly it returns you back to the kingdom of heaven. You know, because we truly, truly do have to be like little children. It's going back to the pure essence, to the core being. And you know, along with that, in that phrase, when Jesus told them that they have to be like children to get into the kingdom of heaven, he says, if anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, okay, and those, because they are already living in the kingdom of heaven. They already have the trust. They already have everything that they need. Those who believe, whoever causes those to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned into the depths of the sea. Right now, or every once in a while, I think I have that stone hanging on me because I know, you know, with my training, you know, I have taught my kids about responsibility and, you know, all those things. I molded them. And now, do you know what? It's their challenge to get back to the kingdom of heaven. And sometimes that might be what life is about. You know, it's about, you know, knowing that you were there and then having whatever life gives you, but then going and making that decision, it's time for me to get back. You know, and that's when we can start looking at how important things are. Is what we learned really true? You know, or am I going to go back to my core essence? The core essence of trust, love, happiness, playfulness, all of those things. I love this, little writing by Anne Rodmacher, and it says, and this I think is the essence of a child. Live with intention. I mean, they know what they want, they go for it, they play, they imagine they're going to be it, they're living in that moment. And about living in the present, somebody said about living in the present. They live in the present, they enjoy everything that's happening. Live with intention. Walk to the edge. Listen hard. Practice wellness. Play with abandon. Laugh. Choose with no regret. Appreciate your friends. Continue to learn. Do what you love and love what you do. Live as if this is all there is. And if you think about that, that's what children do on a daily basis. I did a wedding yesterday that the little baby was there, and I just watched her, and she was so happy, smiling and stuff, and you know, the daddy said, yeah, she's always like that, you know, she's always happy, and I said, you know what, we need to learn from her. You know, we need to learn from kids. We think, our thinking is always backwards, you know, we think that we're here to teach them. No, they're here to teach us. And once we realize that and start learning from them, we'll go back to the kingdom of heaven. So, any other comments? No, everybody's quiet. Okay, then we'll get into some meditation. I invite you to get comfortable in your seat. Just feel the seat supporting your body and the floor supporting your feet. Just hear the music, the flow of the water. Feel the energy in the room. Feel the love and the essence of that person sitting next to you. I invite you to bring to mind a child in your life that you've either seen recently or remember seeing. And look at that child, seeing them play, seeing them laugh, seeing them hug, seeing them trust. the innocence was lost. Before you became hardened and molded. Back to that time when you enjoyed to play. You had a huge imagination. You could be or do anything that you wanted. Feel the love of your family, the love that you felt towards them, towards your friends. Feel that sense of trust, knowing that all your needs were met. Knowing that all you needed to do was ask, and it would be given. All these things are your core being, the essence of who you truly are. This is your God self. Just as Charles Fillmore talked about in the reading today, this is the mind of God. This is who you are. Feel the joy and the wonder and the happiness that that brings to get back into that point of innocence. Know that this feeling truly is the kingdom of heaven. And we are invited to live this on a daily basis. We truly are free when we let go of holding on to our stuff. I invite you to hold on to these feelings of playfulness, of joy, of love, of trust. And make a commitment at this time to bring these along back with you. And this week, connect to your inner child. And do something playful. Do something loving. Show your trust. Go back to the innocence and the happiness of your childhood. And begin living in the kingdom of heaven. I invite you, when you're ready, to come back into this room. Bringing your inner child along with you. And so it is. I'm going to read one more story before we go to the music, and it's called The Cake. Cindy glanced nervously at the clock on the wall, kitchen wall, 5 minutes before midnight. They should be home by now, she thought, as she was putting the finishing touches on her chocolate cake that she was frosting. It was the first time in her 12 years that she had tried to make a cake from scratch. And to be honest, it wasn't exactly the aesthetic triumph. The cake was, well, lumpy, and the frosting was bitter, as if she had run out of sugar or something, which, of course, she did. And then there was the way the kitchen looked. Imagine a huge blender filled with all the fixings for chocolate cake, including the bowls, pans, and utensils. Now imagine that the blender is turned on high speed with the lid off. Did you get the idea of what the kitchen looked like? But Cindy wasn't thinking about the mess. She had created something, a veritable phoenix of flour and sugar rising out of the kitchen clutter. She was anxious for her parents to return home from their date, and she could present her anniversary gift to them. She turned off the kitchen lights and waited excitedly in the darkness. When at last she saw the flash of the car headlight, she positioned herself in the kitchen doorway. By the time she heard the key sliding in the front door, it was this close. She was this close to exploding. Her parents tried to slip in quietly, but Cindy would have none of that. She flipped on the lights dramatically and triumphantly. Ta-da! She gestured grandly toward the kitchen table, where a slightly off-balance two-layer chocolate cake awaited their inspection. But her mother's eyes never made her way to the table. "Just look at this mess," she moaned. "How many times have I talked to you about cleaning up after yourself?" "But, Mom, I should make you clean up this mess right now, but I'm too tired to stay up and make sure it gets done right," her mother said. "So you'll have to do it first thing in the morning." "Honey," Cindy's father interjected gently, "take a look at the table." "I know it's a mess," the wife said coldly. "The whole kitchen is a disaster. I can't stand to look at it." She stormed up the steps and into her room, slamming the door shut behind her. For a few minutes, Cindy and her father stood silently, neither one of them knowing what to say. At least she looked up at him, her eyes moist, and said, "She never saw the cake, did she?" Unfortunately, Cindy's mother isn't the only parent who suffers from situational tubercular glaucoma, the occasional inability to see the forest for the trees. From time to time, we all allow ourselves to be blinded by issues of long-term significance by stuff that seems awfully important right now. It isn't. Muddy shoes, lost lunch money, and messy kitchens are troublesome, and they deserve their place among life's frustrations. But what's a little mud, even on a new carpet, compared to a child's self-esteem? Is a lost dollar more valuable than a youngster's emerging dignity? And while kitchen sanitation is important, is it worth the sacrifice of tender feelings and relationships? I'm not saying that our children don't need to learn responsibility or an occasional suffer the painful consequence of their own bad choices. These lessons are vital and need to be carefully taught, but as parents, we must never forget that we're not only teaching lessons, we're teaching children. That means there are times when we really need to not see the mess in the kitchen, and times when we only need to see the cake. I think that's a cool little story. Okay, and our song is "I Love My Life." The pink section, 12B. And it's what we need to come back to again to get into